Welcome back. As we just reported, Florida ranks second in the nation when it comes to pedestrians struck by vehicles. The Sunshine State is also in the top 3 when it comes to pedestrian deaths. Here's another one. Florida, California, Texas, and New York make up 42% of pedestrian deaths, according to the Governor's Highway Safety Association. There are a number of factors, including economic conditions, demographics, weather conditions, among other things. And joining us for more is Sergeant Bruce King of the Sarasota Police Department and Alan Carter, ALT's Driver Education Center instructor, as well as a defensive driving instructor here on the Suncoast, and Jason Harris, the Director of Transportation and Vehicle Maintenance at the Manatee County School District. Sergeant, I got to start with you. After looking at the video in Jacqueline's story, I would imagine you see that every day and you shake your head.
I will tell you that we have officers down at that school every single day, and there's no dearth of activity. They are as busy as can be the entire time that school zone is going on. Probably there's more of a likelihood that we're going to stop the cars for their violations, because cars do more damage, but certainly pedestrian violations are an issue also.
But it's not just at the schools. It's, you know, in downtown Sarasota or any well-traveled place, you see people crossing the road, even when communities like this one put an emphasis on jaywalking.
Everybody doesn't think it's a big deal when it's them doing it. So it's very easy to judge and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're crossing the road, but think back, and I bet those same people have done it themselves. We are trying to put an emphasis on pedestrian violations, bicycle violations. We recently finished a $25,000 grant that we wrote. Officer Jason Frank has been the lead on that. We finished it, and it's basically to enforce pedestrian violations. That was completed, and we applied for it again, and we'll be doing more enforcement for those type of violations.
Jason, the obstacle or the problem for school districts like the Manatee School District is it's not just the pedestrian, it's not just the parent and the child crossing the road, it is the driver, especially times when it gets dark in the morning and it's dark when they're getting out of school, seeing kids, in some areas there are a lack of sidewalks, it's problematic.
Right, and we work with the different metropolitan MPO organizations to kind of look at those areas that may be not have sidewalks, that are not well lit, in order to make sure that the students that have to walk to and from school are safe in doing so. And we work with the parents and the community to really try to educate safe walking to and from schools. There's initiatives that's safe routes to school, the walking school buses. A lot of those programs are there to help promote student safety walking to and from school.
But accidents happen, and there was a tragedy in Manatee County at the end of last year, I believe, when it was still dark. So there's just really so much you could do, I would imagine.
Right, and we're bound by statutes, but we worked with the community, we worked with the families to in that neighborhood and throughout the school district to really educate safety.
And Alan, when we're talking about just the school issue, at the times of day that we're talking about, people are also trying to get to work in the afternoon, they're trying to get home, and they are in a rush. We are all in a rush, and I would imagine that's where a lot of the accidents happen, and there's just so much driving educators like yourself can do.
Yes, that's true. Distracted driving, unfortunately, is so prevalent today. It causes many accidents with vehicles, and of course with pedestrians also. It is absolutely the #1 cause of an accident, distracted driving. When your eyes come off the road, you're basically driving blind. It's just like shutting your eyes. Being like me asking you to walk across the studio, close your eyes, and walk to me. And it's only maybe 50 feet, but it'd be very scary. And that's exactly what happens when you take your eyes off the road, traveling at 35 miles an hour. In 3 seconds, the time it takes you to maybe look at something on your dashboard with all the information systems we have, you travel over 200 feet, not looking at the road.
All right, we are just getting started. We are getting warmed up, and we'll have more on pedestrian versus vehicle accidents right after we check First Alert Weather. Stay with us.
Attention! Royal Seas Cruises has just announced their deal of the day, a $99 Caribbean cruise for 2 people. This amazing cruise deal to the Bahamas is only available to the first 500 callers who register in your area today. So get ready to write down this number and act fast. We know that the best type of traveler is a repeat guest, so we're offering this $99 Caribbean cruise to prove it. That's $99 per couple, including your stateroom, all your delicious meals, full spa, live entertainment, 3 kids clubs, and more. Come see why we were voted one of the top 10 best overall cruises by Cruise Critic. We're so sure you'll enjoy yourself and become a repeat customer that you're getting this deal of the day for the unbelievable low price of just $99 per couple. But you've got to act fast. Pick up the phone and be one of the first 500 callers to take the Caribbean cruise of a lifetime for just $99 per couple. Call right now or log on to royalcruisenow.com.
Call 800-906-0489.
It's rainy season on the Suncoast. Storms can pop up at a moment's notice. Sometimes it's just rain. Sometimes it's much worse. When there's the potential for severe weather, you need to know fast. Trust ABC 7 First Alert Weather to get you the information you need right away. We focus on the storms that impact where you live, and we're committed to alerting you with important information as soon as we get it. When severe weather strikes, trust ABC 7 First Alert Weather. We're here for you.
I took my first handful of pills, and that's when all my priorities seemed to change.
He would ask to use the bathroom in other people's homes.
He just assumed that they would have medication.
He'd go in their medicine cabinets and steal prescription drugs.
I wish I knew really what these prescription pills were.
We were so naive about the whole drug thing.
These are all synthetic forms of heroin.
Keep your medication locked up because you'll never notice that a pill is gone.
Mind your meds. Learn more from the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
Designers do it with style.
Tell me what's going on here.
Why, you don't like my hair?
The Mark and Mandy Show. In-depth design ideas.
What is up with the tuck tape here? Let's cover it up.
Amazing beauty and fashion tips.
So Halle Berry has amazing skin. Her secret is coffee grounds.
No.
Delicious recipes.
Today, I'm going to show you a special dish that is sure to please that special someone in your life.
Watch the Mark and Mandy Show right here on your favorite channel.
Our conversation on pedestrian versus vehicle accidents continues right after we get a check on the First Alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Bob Harrigan. Bob.
Well, Alan, we were talking about this earlier off camera, the confirmation now that the GFS model, that's the United States model, which has recently had a lot of money pumped into it to improve it over the last 2 years, is now showing a huge shift to the east. That's right, a huge shift to the east, putting us in less danger here along the west coast of Florida. Now, I must caution you that the GFS at this time yesterday was right over Fort Myers and Naples. So there's a big change. Now, watch, as I put this map into motion, I'll show you what I mean by that huge shift. You can see it heading toward Miami, still as a major hurricane, and then it takes an abrupt turn to the north through the northern Bahamas. At this point, if this were going to play out, we would not have the tropical storm force winds on the high end. We could see tropical storm force winds on the low end in our interior counties. Again, it's a long way off, but this gives us a little bit of hope, I think, in the future. Now, if the European starts to shift off to the right, that means that that trough that's over the Great Lakes and extending down into the lower Mississippi Valley could pick this up sooner and carry it off to the north. So that's what we're looking at right now. But again, the big story is this model just came in and it's showing a huge shift to the right. This may change. Don't bank on this yet, but this is just a trend that we're starting to see with some of the other models as well. Now, the European model doesn't come out until 2 a.m. And if the European starts to show even a slight shift to the east, then that would be beneficial because a lot of times these models don't change that drastically, but this one did. The GFS certainly has made that shift to the right. So that's the big breaking news right now. This storm is a major hurricane, and what we should be doing here, not making any decisions right now as far as evacuations go or things of that nature, but you should be checking your hurricane supply kit. Also, go over your hurricane plan with your family as well as know your zone. It's always important to know your hurricane zone, A, B, C, D, to determine if you're going to have to be evacuated. The emergency management officials will contact us, and then we will tell you it's going to be an A evacuation, B or a C, or all three, depending upon the size of the storm. Timing for the Suncoast, if we were to get rough weather here, it looks like now it would be late Sunday and into Monday at this point. So again, this is a look at this massive hurricane, the strongest ever in the Atlantic in modern time, with 185-mile-an-hour winds and gusts up to 200. Never have I seen an eye that well defined with all the coverage I've done over the 31 years. Obviously, this is a new hurricane, not a hurricane, but a new satellite getting a much better clarity with this picture. But this is a classic example of symmetry. This means that it's well organized and it's not going away anytime soon as it makes its way toward the northern Leeward Islands. That's going to be a devastating storm for them as wind gusts are as high as 200 miles an hour. I mentioned the trend is now shifting a little bit more to the east. Even a couple of other models are starting to agree with the GFS. We knew this might occur. We're just hoping that the European, which brings it through Cuba and then eventually through into Naples, does that shift as well. If it does at 2 a.m., then we'll have a little bit more certainty that that's where it's going to go, and you'll see the Hurricane Center kind of shift that cone of uncertainty in that direction too. So we'll keep you up to date, obviously, on mysuncoast.com as well as on your app. So you want to go to your app store and download WWSB Weather, and you will find it, WWSB ABC7 Weather. Download that, and we provide updates as the breaking news comes into us here at the First Alert Weather Station. For boaters, southeast winds turn to the west, and again, that's the same story for Wednesday. The extended forecast looks like this. All depends upon the motion, the future prediction of where Irma is going, but right now, Sunday and Monday appear to be the toughest part of the storm. Alan will be right back after this.
Attention blood thinner users. If your loved one took Xarelto or Pradaxa and suffered serious internal bleeding, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. The widely prescribed blood thinners Xarelto and Pradaxa have been linked to a number of dangerous side effects, including internal bleeding, gastrointestinal bleeding, kidney bleeding, stroke, brain hemorrhaging, and even death. If you or a loved one suffered any of these injuries after taking Xarelto or Pradaxa, call right now. You may be owed significant compensation from the manufacturer. Thousands of blood thinner users may have been exposed to serious risk by these dangerous medications. If you or a loved one took Xarelto or Pradaxa and suffered serious internal bleeding, call right now. Call Nightline Legal to speak with an experienced attorney for a free consultation. If we don't win, there is no fee. There are time deadlines to file a claim, so don't wait. Call right now.
Call 1-800-554-3987. Again, that's 1-800-554-3987.
We answered the call of duty and left our homes to serve in far-off lands. Now, we answer another call, this time at home, in our own communities, to respond in times of chaos, to use our strength, our skills, and our experiences to bring hope amid devastation and destruction. Together, as a team of brothers and sisters, we're continuing our mission to make this country a little stronger and a little better each day. We are Team Rubicon.
Florida's coral reefs are declining. Bad news for our oceans and marine life. Fortunately, you can help, and you don't have to dive, you just have to drive. When you purchase Moat's Protect Our Reefs license plate, $25 goes directly to Moat Marine Laboratory, whose research, restoration, and conservation programs are helping this precious natural resource thrive once again. So get your Moat Protect Our Reefs license plate today. You just might hold the key to saving Florida's reefs.
Welcome back. We're talking about why Florida ranks second in the country in pedestrian vehicle accidents. Joining us for more is Sergeant Bruce King of the Sarasota Police Department, Alan Carter, an ALTS Driver Education Center instructor, as well as a defensive driving instructor on the Suncoast, and Jason Harris, the Director of Transportation and Vehicle Maintenance at the Manatee County School District. Now, Alan, let me start with you because you teach this in terms of defensive driving. There are people, there are pedestrians, as we just saw in Jacqueline's story, that do, let's call it out, stupid things when they're crossing the street. And there are other drivers also doing stupid things while they're driving. How do you approach your students in terms of what their attitude needs to be and how to handle situations like this?
First of all, when we have our initial driver education indoctrination, hopefully the parents are there and we can have anywhere from 60 to 90 students for our initial indoctrination. And I asked the kids, how many have part-time jobs? And some will raise their hands, and then I'll ask, how many of you have full-time jobs? And of course, nobody raises their hand. And I say, you do now. Driving is a full-time job. And if you don't treat it as a full-time job, it'll be horrific circumstances. We all drive with a process we call IDPE. We identify risks, we predict the worst thing that can happen, we decide what we're going to do, and then we execute it. And it takes about 3/4 of a second for all that to go through your mind. We do an experiment in class. Some people think 3/4 of a second is very fast to react, others think it's very slow. And I do this experiment where I will put a dollar bill between a student's hands, and I say, when I drop it, if you catch it, you can do it. It's yours to keep. But what happens is 90% of our ability to drive comes through our eyes, 90%. Our eyes see something, it goes into our brain tells us to do something, brake, turn, whatever, and we react.
And more, unfortunately, our eyes are on other things, including on phone in the car. It's totally different than it was 20 years ago and so forth. Sergeant, let me ask you this, because I recite these numbers. We are second in the entire country in terms of pedestrian fatalities. If I were just to put that to you, I would ask you, what do you think the cause is?
Well, I think some of it is the fact that we have the most people. Everybody wants to be in Florida. We have a significant amount of cars driving on our roadways. Major roadways mixed in with residential roadways like Southside. But nationwide, I would say distracted driving is the biggest problem, because as you were just saying, you're not just focused on the driving, but you're focused on your coffee. You're focused on the appointment that you're about to go to at work. And we've become a society of multitasking. And when you're driving, you need to realize that you're driving a 2,000-pound killing machine, potentially. So you need to basically, as you said, focus on the driving, and that's it.
I have often said, and often when my wife and I talk about this, is you have two really incredible factors down here. You have young people who are too intent on getting to where they need to go as quickly as possible, and you have older people who are trying to be good drivers and being very, very careful. And sometimes when you put that combination together, accidents happen.
Yes.
Comment, ideas?
Well, I know from a school bus perspective, the school bus is the safest mode of transportation. When you ride the school bus, it's a 7,000% safety rating to get to and from school. But a majority, or even it's common that we'll experience accidents where distracted driving comes into play. And the driver will say, I never saw the school bus. Well, it's kind of hard to miss such a large yellow vehicle, but
it's my impression, having observed other people, is that people don't always know what to do when they see a school bus. They don't really, not always get the fact that when the school bus is over to the side, when what to do when it's a yellow light, and when it's a red, or if you're in a multi-lane road, can you just go around it? Is that one of the bigger problems?
Yeah, we see that factor quite often, where we'll work with law enforcement, where the stop arm comes out, it's flashing red, and they might, a car or vehicles might be in the other direction, lanes coming the opposite way, and they're not sure what to do. Well, if there's a raised median, you're supposed to stop, or you can continue to go. Now, if there's not, you need to stop on the opposite side of the road. A lot of times when we work with law enforcement, they'll pull somebody over, they're not clear. So we try to work with the sheriff's office to educate.
And they're good people that make a mistake. Like you said,
yes.
They don't realize that they did that. We have a significant problem on Tuttle Avenue near the school there, but it's a multi-lane road where people are in a hurry to get where they're going, and they just, as you said, don't see the school bus.
You can't give a driving lesson to everyone, and you can't give education to every single pedestrian. So 2 questions here. What does the police department do?
We always strive to gain voluntary compliance. If we could stop people and educate them, that would be our first choice. As you said, unfortunately, sometimes people don't listen, and we have to come in with the penalty aspect of it. We try to educate. When that doesn't work, we go with the penalty. And the penalty is sort of an education also. Pedestrian violation started about $116, and regular tickets can be anywhere $166, or if you're speeding through a school zone, could be upwards of $400 and close to $500 with multiple points on your driver's license. So it's a tool we use and hope to gain compliance.
And Jason, you were talking earlier about before we went on the air that there are certain things that the school district wants to do in combination with the police department, I believe, in terms of giving out reflectors. What's going on there?
We're working with the Manatee County Sheriff's Office to provide students that live within the 2-mile radius of a school who walk to school reflectors, just to help educate and for drivers to see them, to be visible. We also work with the community to promote using a crosswalk. Like the video segment showed, we at a lot of our schools in Manatee County, the same thing. We have people in a hurry, and it just takes a split second to walk in front of a car or a school bus.
And Alan, what do you specialize in terms of, you give, the speech in terms of this is a full-time job, your most important tool is your eyes, but if you drive down Main Street in Sarasota, you know how challenging this can be sometimes in terms of you may be very careful about your driving, but the pedestrian is not always careful about their walking.
That's absolutely correct. Again, we teach in a system to predict the worst thing that's going to happen. You're driving, let's say, in your neighborhood, and you see people walking, usually in the streets, exercising, etc. You have to predict the worst. The worst is they're going to walk in front of you, they're going to fall in front of you, so you always have to predict the worst in these situations. Downtown Sarasota, again, all the pedestrians in the area, your eyes are constantly scanning from left to right, back and forth. We're never fixed on a single object, because then it becomes a draw to us. And by doing this, hopefully predicting the worst,
okay. We have to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests, so stay with us.
The following message is brought to you by Mesobook.com.
People who have been diagnosed with mesothelioma have many questions. How did I get this disease? What are my treatment options? How will this affect my loved ones? You need answers, which is why we offer a free book written by medical professionals who have treated mesothelioma.
Call toll-free at 1-800-777-1366 or go to mesobook.com.
You love your couch and want to protect it from spills, food, and scratching, shedding pets. Introducing Couch Coat, the reversible, washable quilted cover that protects your couch. Shield against spills, wow, stop stains, and dirty pet paws and sharp claws. Plus, it's reversible with 2 stylish colors. Guaranteed to fit any couch up to 92 inches or your money back. It even has covers to protect armrests. Machine washable too.
My grandkids destroy everything, but with Couch Coat, my couch is always protected, looking as good as it did the day I bought it.
Get your Couch Coat for just $19.99, and it's reversible in brown and cream, like 2 couch coats for the price of 1. Order right now, and you can double your offer. Get a second Couch Coat. Just pay a separate fee. Order right now.
Call 1-800-943-0710 to get your couch coat. Call now or go to couchcoat.com. So call 1-800-943-0710. That's 1-800-943-0710. Call now.
ABC 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you. Watch ABC 7 wherever you are, on our live stream, on mysuncoast.com, on the ABC 7 My Suncoast app, powered by the Eye Associates, providing sight for life, featuring traffic maps and live radar, dining with recipes, and My Suncoast Restaurant Guide. Visit mysuncoast.com. Click on the Apps tab to download the ABC 7 My Suncoast app for Apple and Android. Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC 7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining.
The new school year, and already 3 kids have been hit by cars. Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. So, Sergeant, when you investigate these terrible situations, is it possible to say it's either the pedestrian's fault or the driver's fault most of the time?
No, it varies by case. As I told you, I get called out for the traffic fatality and serious injuries, and they often involve pedestrians and vehicles. There's this misunderstanding out there that the pedestrians always have the right of way. It's not true. We actually have statutes that prohibit pedestrians from darting out in the road, off of a sidewalk or crossing when there is no crosswalk when one is provided. So, no, you can't say that it's more often the car than the pedestrian. If you're a pedestrian crossing at night wearing dark clothing, you have to realize that nobody can see you. So, to answer your question, no.
That was a situation just the other night. The person was, totally in dark clothing, and they were very hard to see. And as we mentioned, you had a terrible situation in Manatee County last year. Same thing.
Yes, it's unfortunate what happened. Unfortunately, the young man did not cross in a crosswalk, and the area that in which he did so wasn't well lit. So it was unfortunate circumstances that happened, but that's why that kind of helped us promote the safety and the reflective program that we're working on.
Alan, you can teach everyone to anticipate the things that they don't expect there, but I would imagine there are people who come to you. They are seeing you because they may have a history of driving in an aggressive sort of way, and that's a mindset, isn't it?
It could be, and hopefully our classes, our basic driver improvement classes, which is probably the reason they were sent to us in the first place, will open their eyes on some of these situations. People walk out learning a lot more than they thought they would.
All right, we will have to leave it there. I want to thank you all for joining us. FYI, you can watch past discussions. They're all on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. We want to thank our guests for being here tonight, Sergeant Bruce King of the Sarasota Police Department and Alan Carter of Alt's Driving Education Center, as well as a defensive instructor on the Suncoast, and Jason Harris, the Director of Transportation and Vehicle Maintenance at the Manatee County School District. When we return, we'll have a final look at your first alert weather. Plus, President Trump made a decision on the so-called Dreamers. Stay with us.